All right. Hi, guys. Okay.
Hello.
Welcome to the RegiCast. I'm your host, Reginald. Joining me is Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Nice to be here.
All right. So you're going to have to help me out because I'm already stressed the hell out. So Catherine's a really cool person. Okay. So we're just going to
Oh.
talk about her for about an hour, hour and a half. If you have questions, you might as well start asking them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but as is tradition, let's start with the first impressions. Okay. So you'll share your first impressions and then I'll share mine.
Oh, wow. Okay. First impression was probably on Discord, right? Oh, I'd seen you in the groups. I'd seen you on the Facebook groups, and I was like, who's this guy? And then I remember looking at your Facebook picture, and I was like, it's so formal. He's an ENFP. He's supposed to be chaotic, but then he looks quite formal in his picture. And then I guess on Discord, when we first started interacting, was like, you had a little freak out, didn't you? You had like a demon DI
Which
moment when
one?
you just you just you took over VC and you just told everyone what your
That's what you
impression.
joined? Oh my
That's what I
god.
joined. Yeah, so
That
you
was
just
like
took over.
that's
You
like
were
a
like,
myth at this point.
yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
you're like this, you're like this, and then you told me that I was pure, and I was like,
Yes.
he has no idea.
Yes. No.
That
So
was,
okay. That's still my
yeah.
first impression, by the way. That's where that came from. Wow. Yeah,
Really.
one day we're gonna have to like tell like stories to our children about Reggie just disrespected all these people one day.
Yeah, it was intense, and I
Yeah.
remember I wrote you after that, and I was like, Reggie, this is not how you do DI, and I was
Yeah.
I don't
I
know,
was,
what I
got it.
said, to be honest.
Yeah, I got a dressing down from Catherine. You don't want that. Um, yeah, I think my first impression was just and we'll talk about it because you were talking about the
Mm-hmm.
stuff before we went live. Maybe not pure is the right word. Now that like that's the problem with SI is like if you don't have the exact right word, it comes off the wrong way.
Right.
It actually the word that comes to my mind, I was thinking about it for the past few days, is like very dignified, almost regal energy. Yeah.
Really, with me.
Mhm.
This is interesting. Okay, I don't want to like talk about OP too much because I know that not everything is about OP, right? But like
Yeah.
it's interesting that I've heard that in the past as well. And I do think it has to do something with like double masculine inner world. Like people do see kind of my masculine and I through all the layers of chaos. And they're like, but you have a controlling streak. So maybe that's what you're
Yeah.
seeing. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing that in you as well.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know. I can't speculate on that. But yeah, I mean that was the first impression. Purity, I think, I mean, what's purity? I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word, But yeah, I definitely still would think that. I still think that,
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's kind of, we spoke about it the other day, right? Like purity also, I mean, I guess it kind of means innocence in a way, like it can be translated to that as well. And we spoke about this like need to protect people that do
Yeah.
not kind of share your functions. It also has that, right? Like, because and I mean this not in a demeaning way, but I do feel kind of the need to protect intuitives.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, I'm like, I can tell. It's not as if like, oh, you're so bad at this. It's more like, I want to help you with this, and I'm gonna like guide you through this part that I know that I can do,
Mm-hmm.
where you kind of struggle more. And I'm sure that you said that you kind of experience the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With you specifically, you and Ikram actually. It's kind of a weird energy,
Yeah.
An old man. I feel like an old man with you two. I'm like, all right, they're gonna run themselves off a cliff. Okay, let's bring it in. Let me check
Yeah.
in on them. Make sure they're drinking water.
Yeah.
All 8
Yeah.
ounces. That's
All 8 ounces of water. Yeah. And
yes.
then, yeah, it is true. Intuitives do kind of play that role in my life. They're like, are you sure you're going to go ahead and do that? I'm like, yeah, gotta see if it's going to work out. And everyone's like, take a fucking guess, sorry. Am I allowed to swear?
Catherine, So you've never watched a show ever? It sounds
Okay,
like.
thank you.
Yeah.
I do watch the show, but
Oh my
uh,
god. All right, go for it. Just go for it. That's the 50th one. I don't give a fuck. Just do what you want. You know? What are we
what was
talking
I
about?
saying? Oh.
We have, yeah. You're saying, oh, the need to protect with the intuitives.
Yeah, the need to protect.
Okay. Yeah. There you
And
go.
they protect me in turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you can. Oh, sorry.
Maybe I could what?
Sorry, I'm just talking now.
What are you doing? Go. Oh wait, maybe I could what?
Well, do you want to, like, I'm interested in hearing from your point of view. What do you think it is in you that makes you want to protect people like myself and a masculine SI? Huh? What's the instinct like?
The instinct is you just see someone like. I mean, well, it's both actually. I mean, obviously, because like it's the FI comes first for me, so it's like I have to actually care about you. If I don't care about you, then yeah, go kill yourself. Metaphorically only.
Yeah. Welcome to FI, everyone.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, once I actually care about you, then it's like I become a grandma or a grandpa. It's like, okay, like, are they taking care of themselves? Are they eating? They seem stressed. Are they sleeping enough?
Yeah.
You know, do they have money coming in? Like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
okay, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I do kind of experience that, but the other way around. Like, I guess you had, it's not first impressions, but like when I saw you posting in the Facebook groups, I was like, Reggie's doing a lot of sleep last stuff right now. Like he's really working himself into the wall, you know, a crash is going to come at one point or another. And I remember like reaching out to you a few times. I'm like, how are you doing? You know, how is this progressing? You know?
Yeah.
So we're doing the same thing, but from different angles, you know?
Yeah. I what I've noticed is people with NI, whether it's savior or demon, it's like they want to they like once they care about you, they want to psychoanalyze you and like have a full profile of you. It's like, okay, the type of person that does this, and here's his deep childhood trauma, and so let me help him with that. Okay.
Yeah. That sounds like NI, yeah. And then NF Blast versus NT Blast is going to handle that in two different ways, right? Like NT Blast is going to want to coach you and like, I don't know, create a path forward, like give examples, more tangible, like to-do lists, I guess, of and approaches, you know, forward.
Yeah.
Whereas NF Blast is doing something I don't quite understand yet.
And then yeah, like ST Blast. I don't know about SF Blast too much, but like ST Blast, it's very much like here's how to make it work. Like here are the steps. It's literally like I'm giving you an instruction manual. Like here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Instructing, like giving tools to move forward, yeah, and to solve the problem. I see that a lot. SI Blast is crisp, you know. NI Blast is just, you know, all over the place. It's like this general thing over here, you know, this general direction kind of.
I wonder because I know that's how you experience it. I don't experience it that way.
Interesting.
Not always. At least not always. Like, I mean, I'm thinking of like specifically like Gary Vee when I was into that. I'm currently listening or like I've been deep diving into Tim Ferriss and David Allen, right?
Oh, right. Okay.
So,
right.
I mean, they're all NI, right? So it's like, and for them, it's like it feels crisp to me. It's like, oh, this is like it's like they're not getting bogged down by the minutia. They're like, okay, here are the categories. As long as you're fitting these categories, you're good. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do that. You know?
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
I guess NI does do that as well. But if I think of like an NF Blaster, I think of like a preacher type character, you know, that's like delivering purpose and purpose only, and like asking people to go within. At least that's how I perceive it, because I have NF sleep.
That's an extreme though.
Pretty extreme.
That's a pretty extreme. You know, that's like almost consume last level NF Blast. Like I think the preacher is like the consume last to me. Everyone else is kind of
yeah. They're always the consume lasters are usually the preachers. Yeah. Okay.
This is your show. I'm done. Ever since David Chin put out that thing with alpha state being SE, I don't give a fuck. It's
Yeah.
over.
Cheers, everyone, by the way.
Cheers.
Okay, I'm looking at we could also just chill a little bit, SE, I told you, rules are, there are no rules, right? So we'll see where this goes,
That's right.
To be honest, I'll be honest though, like I was thinking before this this show, I was like, am I really the type of person that like jumps into an interview not prepared at all? I usually don't do interviews if I don't have anything planned, right? And that's like the blast part of me. It's like always in the background because I'm like, what's going to be interesting to people to actually listen to? And this time, I'm actually working currently on the whole like energy dominant thing, which is like just not thinking so much about the blast and just doing and seeing, like going back to kind of what I was like when I was younger, which was more energy dominant in nature and not having like the blast part in the back of my mind at all times. I'm sure that you have it in the back of your mind as well, like with ST Blast. Everything, because you're very good at planning, Reggie. Like that's you are pretty. No, I mean it's bullshit, but it's also like you do, like whenever we talk, you always schedule. You always have an agenda. Like you always have a purpose. You always have an outcome. It is like you're managing that part fairly well, at least times when I've seen you. So
yeah, I guess relativity is important because it's like it's like compared to
we need to SE compare.
Yeah, it's like you guys. It stresses me out when you guys say, just call me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Call me.
Just call me, just call me. You can call me at any time.
Yeah, I think it's just the masculine, even if it's a demon, a masculine function just is more obvious to see.
Yeah.
To me. Like it's, I see the, for me with masculine asides, like even when I'm being chaotic, there's something in me that's like, okay, I'm gonna be chaotic within this time frame because after this time frame, it's over. Like I'm going home.
But what were you like as a kid though? Were you?
I was pretty like not controlling. It's just like I just wanted to be left alone. That's and I'm probably peacocking, but like I really just went off in the backyard and had adventures by myself. Like that was really the energy.
Interesting. Well, that's also NE, no? Like I've said this to you before, but like NE does seem more introverted than SE. It has, because it's also like something that you can do introvertedly, right?
Yeah.
So SE is, well, obviously I can do it on my own, as in I can be out consuming. That's still like an independent activity, but it's more hyper present. Like it's always looking at the what of the moment and it's reacting in the moment. Actually kind of ties back to planning. I was thinking about this before, that like I'm always comfortable in the moment. This is where it's perhaps different. Like I'm always comfortable in the moment, and I get anxious about planning for that moment because I can't plan SE. Like there's no planning of the SE. Like you just have to react in the moment, right? Like you can have like, I guess you can create like vague boxes of NI that you want to kind of bring up. Like when I was kind of planning this interview in the back of my head, that's what I was doing. I was like, and this and this and this, that might be interesting, right? But the SE of it and the actual like doing of the thing needs to happen in the moment. You can't control that. And I understand that it's like really stressful for people around me. Like I see it at work all the time. Like my colleagues, they're like, are you sure you handle this? Like especially people that do not share my observer access. And then kind of when I go in to like present something, I feel very comfortable. I can feel nervous before, but once I'm in the moment, I'm like, hey, yay, this is what I was born to do. This is where this is home, for me. I'm not sure what's that like for you.
It's funny. Like I am, you seem to have a deep respect of the moment. I don't. I am checked out. I am somewhere thinking about Tenet or some Christopher Nolan movie or some anime or something else. I'm gone. Like I was not here.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not here.
So what are you doing now?
Well, I mean, I'm hanging out with you, but
Yeah, okay.
that's kind
Yeah,
of
but
an
I'm
exception.
not going to be offended.
Yeah, but
I'm
you're
just
my
asking.
SI though. You see what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
you're my SI and FI, so it's like I will pay attention to you. But like
Oh,
if
I get it.
for anyone who's outside of that space, it's like you might as well
Mm.
play some trailers in the background because that's what's happening. I'm listening
Mm.
to Marvel trailers in my head in the background. That's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I talk to you, I'm gonna pretend I'm listening and I'm gonna say some any bullshit to pretend I got it, and then I'm gonna move on to going back to consuming some more shit on YouTube.
Right. And this is what you're saying now. This is why Tony Robbins is the most extroverted type, right? Because he's TESE. That's like hyper present. It's so tangible. Like if you were FENE, right? You're very extroverted, right? But you're just not as hyper present as ST play is. Like
Yeah.
ST play is it's there. ST is S in general, I guess, is just incredibly in the moment. Even SI, I guess.
No, that's bullshit. SI lives in so that's a lie. I've talked
Is
to
it
SIs in my life. They all have spreadsheets and Punnett squares in their head. That's how they live.
right? Yeah, SE is crazy.
Yeah.
It's pure chaos. SE, yeah, TE and SE are by far like the more extroverted functions.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What do you think is the difference between Savior single activated FI versus demon double activated FI? Okay, wait. Oh, what is the difference? That's a really good question, Prem. I've been thinking about this for a long time, like comparing myself to people that I see have, like that are double deciders, let's say, and they have double activated. Wait, no, you're not asking about demon. Sorry, I'm like not
No,
demon double activated. Yeah, he is. Okay, he is.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's filtering, I think. I think DIs, ironically, I think we're always filtering in one way or another. Like if I think about people that are like play, consume, sleep of my type, let's say, they're not filtering as much because the DI is more subconscious, if that makes sense. So it comes out in play, like play is unfiltered, right? So for me, I'm always gonna, like, whether I want to or not, I'm always gonna be filtering my DI. Like I'm responsible to take care of that first, and then I can go out to do the T stuff, and the play and the blast and all of that. Does that answer your question? It is a really good question.
It answers it enough,
Yeah.
He'll be fine. By the way, I think I told you this. Like I usually do Q&As at the end, but we again.
Oh, well,
do what you want.
Oh, am I the host now?
You're the host, apparently.
Yeah, you were, I'm just going to let you drink and I'll be the host of the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome. But you had questions for me, though.
I did have questions for you.
And I took time to read them and I reflected,
Did you reflect?
I did.
Oh, wow.
I did. Well, I was lucky because a lot of the things that you asked, I've actually asked myself in the past, just peacocking my sleep here. But what was it?
Here's what we got to do. So we're going to talk about the questions. I do think we need to touch upon the sleep as well, because when we did like the original call where we're prepping, like I thought that was a really important conversation. So it's like we can at least touch upon that, and then we can chill out after that, So in no particular order, I'm actually going to start with the SF stereotypes. Like you seem not agree with them, right? So starting off with like SF, like how would you define SF? Because it seems as though you don't agree with how the groups do.
Well, I took some time to process it, right? So when I got my type back, I was like, popularity, is that something I care about in my life? It's not something that FI personally care about. But
Yeah.
I said this to Emily, and she said that she understood the concept of what I was saying. But like, I think for ESFPs especially, and I'm going to speak about ESFPs, SF kind of, is that I'm too open-minded, right? That's my main problem in life. I meet so many different kinds of people. And so in my work, and I don't really discriminate, I think. Of course, there's biases embedded in this, in myself, obviously, but I just know people from all walks of life. And then as a result of that, I become like a natural connector, right? But is the purpose of doing your Savior SF to become popular? It isn't necessarily, but I guess you always understand the popularity spectrum, whatever that is. And I never called it that. I just called it like, I know what other people are doing and how well they're doing it, right? And I know where I rank on that spectrum. And I need to, if I want to do something that I am passionate about, let's say, I need to improve and move towards this direction, right? And like, I need to do these things to become better. And so I think that's what like SF Consume is doing all the time, without noticing it. So the purpose is not popularity. But then I think that there are different parts to SF as well, right? It's like, it's mirroring. I said before we started this live stream that like SE knows, it knows what different functions look like to put it in OP terms, right? Like in reality, it's more like, I know how to appeal to various people because I can match them, right? And I can act in the moment and I can mirror the behavior. Some people call that active listening. Some people call it, you can call it many different things, but it's ultimately just about being a little fake at all times, but you're not doing it on purpose, right? You're not doing it on purpose. It's not as if you're changing who you are, because you have a choice. You have a choice, but like if it's a savior, it's just like, bam, I'm doing this, and this person needs this. I'm gonna be this person, right? So it's about choosing words. And I said this before, that like SF is not just sensory things. It's about this whole idea that words matter, right? Your communication style matters. And different people will be you can appeal to various people by doing different things, right?
Yeah.
So that's SF also. I think it's ultimately more multi-dimensional. Like you can kind of break down popularity, and I think a lot of savior behaviors kind of lead to popularity. I don't see myself as like a very popular person in general, but I know how to kind of connect with people on their level, if that makes sense.
Right. You don't see yourself as a popular person. You sure?
No, no, I don't. Fuck, is this ridiculous? But this is savior, and it's even awkward. Like if someone's like, "Oh, you're so popular, Catherine," I'm like, it's just uncomfortable, right? To talk about those things. I don't know why. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, I guess I can relate to that in my version of that. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm popular or anything like that, but like the NT stereotypes. If someone were to come up to me and tell me those, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like it's uncomfortable, right? Like one example that makes me uncomfortable is like people come up to me, it's like, oh yeah, you're really well spoken, like you're really like you really seem to have thought this through, da da da. And I'm like, ew, like yeah, it's a weird feeling. It's a weird feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling. It's almost more awkward having someone point out your saviors than your demons, right?
Yeah.
And it's this whole, I mean, I think I've said this before, but obviously it's only natural that we come to like, or that we want to identify, or we want our identity and we want to be like read as our demons, because that's what we're conscious of doing. Like, I'm not conscious of SF. At any point during the day, I don't track SF. Like, and ST is like, it's just like breathing, right? So, of course, what you're conscious that you're doing is what you're going to think that you are.
Yeah.
So when people come and point out that you have like an autopilot behavior that you're not even noticing,
Yeah.
that's awkward. It is awkward. And, you know, I don't want people to see that I'm doing SE and that I'm always matching, like, trying to, and this is double feminine play as well, double activated, you know, all these, it's, I don't want people to see it, you know?
Right.
It also means that I'm pretty bad at it if people are noticing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Okay. I guess so. Okay, so it's almost as though you would prefer SF be defined. I don't know if you said it explicitly, but it's almost like you want SF to be defined as like appropriateness or matching the other person or the situation or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you're being more conscious of. I mean, which is interesting because that almost sounds like FE almost. But you're just saying
yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I know it sounds like FE, and I was thinking about that before this. But I mean, that's what I think I'm doing. If I'm like reflecting on my own behavior and like what goes on in the background when I'm interacting with other people, it's always about making other people feel comfortable to share, you know? And I will use myself as a tool to make that happen. Meaning, if I need to act and look stupid, I'll do that, you know, for the other person to feel comfortable. If I need to match, yeah. So it is an act, right? And there is a filtering process, because even if I have reasons, they're not always appropriate, right? So I'm not allowed to use all the tea that I actually have because it's inappropriate. And that's where savior thinkers are like more like, they're going to be perceived as more blunt, right? As opposed to feelers. Then with double activated play ST, it makes me also kind of blunt at times, you know? I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I'm in a self-forgetting mode, I'll be blunt, you know?
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, because now that I'm thinking about that, like, at least when I was growing up, so it's interesting. So I guess I do have something in me that is tracking appropriateness, but like I just would not respect it. So it's not like I was unaware all the time. It was more of the disrespect for me that led to like demon SF moments. Like, so for example, like when I'm in school, it's like, okay, you have to say a certain thing to this teacher and you have to say this certain thing to this person because they just got in this relationship with that person and da.
Right.
I'm like, bitch, I don't even like you. You know, like I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
So, and that would lead to a lot of awkward demon SF things, you know. So, and I think that persists even to this day, like with my YouTube channel and stuff like that. It's like, so for example, like, you know, I know there are certain things on my channel I shouldn't have said. It's my channel, though. So that's the T. But that's the thing. I thought that was FI, but I guess that's like the TE maybe, or like the demon SF maybe.
Yeah, demon SF perhaps. Yeah, it's like, well, you know, this is like, I guess not taking responsibility for SF is like, it's like, I'm gonna be blunt, you know. I'm not gonna care about that. Yeah, that seems like SF seems like anti-bluntness, if that makes sense. And I'm a bad example. I'm a really bad example of it, because I think it would have. I think it's even more obvious in people that have like double activated SF consume, right?
Yeah.
For me, my ST is still double activated. So
is that true though? Like I'm thinking of like Gary V though. Like, so he's a savior SF. double activate.
Oh, masculine feelings, they swear a lot, huh? We swear a lot.
Dude.
Well, yeah. And then, but also, are you reacting to the S that is SE? Because I can imagine that for SIs that you would react to it, right?
No,
Like
no, I like him. Like, but it's like I'm saying
no,
in terms of the bluntness, like he doesn't seem
yeah,
appropriate at all.
no, yeah, and it's interesting. Like even in the Megyn Kelly class, right? I think a lot of people got her as a savior thinker, but she's not unaware of the emotional spectrum. And so I think, especially as an FI user, and if you're using it in a savior state, you are aware of where the emotional boundaries are, and you're
Right.
constantly pushing them, and you're consciously pushing them, right? Because it's like, this is FE, and this is what is considered appropriate. Guys, we need to change this, right? Like, this is ridiculous. It can be about value systems, right? It's like, oh, this group over here, they're looked down upon or they're not valued. We need to value them. You know, that's what FIs are talking about all the time. It's like, are the value systems that we have in society currently, are they actually benefiting us? Are they benefiting others? So it's, FI is more like, it's always questioning FE norms, right? In one way or another.
Interesting.
And it can also come off as incredibly immature if you don't like know how to handle it, right? Yeah. If you don't know how to support your values with reasons, that well, you know, you can't communicate it properly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's talk about you for a little bit. I have questions about you know, you as a human, right? That's my demon SF. I know that was not appropriate to say.
Right.
I caught it after I said it. Okay. Apparently you can't just say human. You can't just call people humans. That's kind of weird, apparently. You know.
Oh, T's do that a lot. Oh, my favorite humans. Shan always says that, right?
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I give it my stamp of approval.
There you go. All right. Thank you. So first thing is, so you have a lot of OP insights I've noticed, especially in the Facebook group. You also have a video coming out pretty soon with Rose, where you guys are going to talk about like the roles certain personality types play in the tribe, right? Oh, is that okay? So I guess my question is like, what role do you play or your type plays in the society?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question. I think ultimately what I identify most with, ironically, and this is perhaps my DI choice, is ST play. I have a fair amount of it as a savior. And the whole, actually the whole thing with Rose kind of started with ST play and what ST play is doing. Because I've always known that I have this skill, you know, my perceived skill to understand what people would be good at, right? Like, you should be doing this. Like, you'd be great at that. Like, I'll say that all the time to various people. And I was wondering where that was coming from. And I was like, well, if you are ST play, you are always tracking competence on a spectrum, right? So you always look at what people are doing and how well they're doing it. So that's kind of where it started. I was like, oh, so that's what ST play is actually doing. And I do see that as kind of one of my core strengths. Like, there is, there's like an urge to organize the troops and to help people find the best fit for them, you know, when it comes to especially work. And TE is so work focused, you know, like when I talk about these things, I always think in terms of work and like career and stuff. So it's perhaps that. Oh wow, I'm so sleep lasting this. But
so the ST play. Hold on, I got you. So ST play is tracking competence on a spectrum,
right?
Okay. So it's almost like, so I mean, what role, like what archetype is that in the tribe?
Well, so the archetype.
Style?
Yeah, but like if you combine NT blast and ST play, if you do those things together, you become a commander, right? Because you're taking the right based on the information that you have to tell people what they should be doing with their lives. That's why TE is bossy, right? So especially ST play. So the play blast of my type combined is ultimately tracking and comparing people's skill set and placing them where they think would be strategically most appropriate for them to be.
I've seen
And and so it's reflected also, like I was recording this like typing video for the Enneagrammer, and in it they asked for my biggest pet peeve, and my biggest pet peeve is unconscious incompetence, right? So, and it fans the flames within me, right? And I was talking to Anna.
Catherine?
Sorry, what was that?
I said, how are we friends then?
You're great. I'm, this is my FI values people. I don't know. Of course, I accept most people. It's not like, it's more in work context, right? Okay. It's like there's a sense of frustration that occurs when people are not doing what they should be doing, right? Because I'm like, you're so good at this thing over here. Why aren't you doing it? Why are you telling yourself that you're good at this? And it's not fair, because people can choose to do whatever they want, right? Like ultimately, I think ST Play is like really good at tracking saviors, right? And it's like, oh, it's you're good at doing that. You should be staying in this box over here. So I recognize that that's not like, it's not always a positive thing, but it's this urge to want to like help people find a place where they can do their thing the best. So, and that's FI as well, valuing and like tracking SE on a spectrum. Like, if I give a compliment to someone, like, oh, you're really good at that, it's genuine, because it means that I've compared you to everyone that I've ever met that does the same thing, and I know that you are better than they are at that. It sounds terrible, but yeah, this is me.
No, I think it's I mean, that's the T, right? I've experienced that before. Like, I mean, I have friends who are like that. I guess I have experienced that with you, I guess. But yeah, I guess you make it, you SF like sugarcoat it. I think especially with the feminine DE, like you sugarcoat it at least a little bit. Like, hey, maybe you should, Reggie, you should maybe stop doing that.
Reggie, Reggie. Yeah, it's true. Because it's like being an extrovert is ultimately just being in, like, thinking that everyone else's business is your business at all times, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why is he doing this? It's like, well, maybe he can just take care of it himself,
Yeah.
But since you asked for my opinion, and I gave it to you. But yeah, and then I guess ultimately for SF, in the like interview with Rose, I think and in the little thing that I put together, I call it like disrupting culture, and I think that's ultimately what SF Consume is doing. And I think that is what I'm doing. I do it a lot at work, which is questioning. I'm ultimately questioning at all times SF Blast, which is established ways and principles and processes that we have around norms and values. And I see it as my job to find evidence and reasons, and to question those values, right? So it comes through, and it's like, it's really like in the type of job that I do, it comes in handy, right? Because I'm helping my clients see culture from a different point of view. They're seeing it as the way that culture has always been, and I'm saying, well, times have changed, and this is what people are currently doing, and this is probably where it'll end up in the future, and this is what we should be doing about it, So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I can see that. ST Play. It's like, you should be doing this. So I guess my question is, and this is probably a tangent, but like, when it comes to your type or you specifically, is there anything that you wish people asked you more, or things that you wish people understood about you more, as opposed to what they currently see?
It's a tough question. Wow, I'm sleep processing. I think we all want to be seen for our demons, right?
Yeah.
In one way or another. So I think that's going to be it's going to be too predictable. I guess it can be like, I'm not a glass lizard type, right? But it is odd for me to end my conscious journey, like that's what I call like the third animal or the third function. It's odd for me to end on anti-blast, which is then not balancing out, because it never will, but it's ultimately like a little bit of a kind of, it's like a little something to kind of balance out ultimately the SF consume. And I think what people this is where it gets confusing, right? Because I know that I'm DI savior, but I've been struggling to kind of like understand my incredibly codependent tendencies that I've been aware of for at least like 3 or 4 years. Like, it may sound like peacocking, but I can assure you that like my life is just about attaching myself to other people and to groups, right?
Okay.
So I'm not like, when it comes to like finding my own path and like assuming that I'm a very confident person that knows what I'm doing, that is wrong, right? Because it's something I've struggled with my whole life. Like, I'm oversharing with the internet now, but let's do it. I know that like I'm no one without other people. And so I was like processing why that is, right? And I think I posted in the groups about it, but I'm not sure if I made myself understood. And it's this: having an introverted function last means that you're still leaning into 2 extroverted functions, whether TE is third or not, right? So for me, I can only see my future if I'm attached to other people. Without other people, I have no future, and I have no purpose, and I have no goals. I have nothing. So sleep is having your own purpose, right? And I don't have my own purpose. And that's what's confused me so much, which is also why I type myself as an EJ, because like my constant feedback in life from friends and family has been like, maybe you should just be like, take time for yourself, and like maybe you shouldn't be so obsessed with this other person that you're currently taking care of. Maybe you shouldn't be someone's administrator, or whatever phase I'm currently going through. And so that has been like something that's really like been insightful to me, to see what the like consume, play, sleep ESFPs are doing as opposed to the consume, play, blast, because they have their own future. They don't have the ability to kind of organize the troops the same way, whereas that's where I end. So it's been a very confusing thing getting back my type. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm DI, right? Like, I'm hard on myself and like, oh, everything is on me and all that bullshit, right? But actually, like, a lot of my life problems is coming from not being able to be independent and seeking out my own future, right?
Yeah.
So it's an odd type to be in that sense. It's not a glass lizard type, but it's all because I am very much ESFP stereotype. But it's what you would, I guess, more define as like EJ problems, which is like, why can't I be on my own? Why do I always need to have someone to latch onto?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can relate to that.
yeah, right.
I think you're hyper aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hyper aware of it because I'm DI, and then I'm like, why am I like so freaking attached to other people? Whereas like someone that's my type, a DE perhaps, is going to be less aware of it and just kind of do the DE thing more autopilot.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I'm like, why can't I just be on my own? Why can't I be on my own? But I can't. I can, but
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah. But so for you, you obviously have to source people to like reach SI, right?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, specifically to reach SF, and like I know we've been having
Right,
conversations about that. It's just
right.
it's like because for me it's like the SI and the SF are so terrifying. It's like I don't want to make a misstep at all. So it's like I'd
Mm,
much rather over
right.
gather and over get like other people involved to like make sure I'm doing it right, right?
Hmm.
And for me to do my SF and then it fails because it's already hard enough as it is, you know?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's, and I do think that when it comes to your demons, like it's, and perhaps especially if you're info dominant, I'm not sure if there's a difference, but
Mm.
it's like being and having a double masculine inner world. It's like you're just a perfectionist with your demons. Like if you choose SI and FI, it has to be the perfect fit, and you believe that like you don't have the right to kind of change it or iterate upon it once you reach it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for yeah, it's the same thing for me, like with my like life purpose. um it freaks me out that um not that I have to choose, that's not the problem. It's more like it needs to be perfect. If I choose a path,
Right.
it's all or nothing. Like it's, if I choose one, it's that freaking path, and if I fail, then everything falls apart. Obviously it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but that's the sensation. Like when people ask about observer problems and they're like, oh, it's about printers and stuff, I'm like, no, it's about like every day I worry that I'll be homeless, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everything is about over, for SE, it's like overworking the moment to prepare for the future. Like the future is so scary that you overdo everything. Like I had someone asked me the other day, they're like, so have you started saving for your retirement? I'm like, I'm already done. Like that's already taken care of. Like I'm so scared of the future that
Mm.
I need to like over prepare for it, if that makes sense. um
Right, right.
so so even though like, even when I do NI and like Savior and I are like, here we're just planning casually, you know, we can do this thing kind of like autopilot mode. For me, when I go into NI, it's like I have gear 1 or gear 5, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm going all in on it. This is also why I thought that I wasn't Savior SF, because when people are like, oh, you know, like I don't know, SF consumes, they go shopping and all that, and I was like, you should have seen me in my mid-20s. I was in like a deep NI swing, and I had 7 t-shirts, I had 3 pairs of pants, and I was like, I lived like an incredibly minimalistic lifestyle, and I was like, we're doing this, you know. It's so demon, it's so demon. But I was in that swing for a good like few years, and my
Yeah.
friends were like, what's going on with you, you know? And I was like, yeah, you just need to plan, and you need to it's very like David Goggins type vibe.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
just it's intensity coming out. And
Over
everyone's
that,
like,
yeah.
yeah, planning, huh? You know, it's a it's a thing. And I'm like, yeah, have you heard about planning? You know?
Oh my god. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Oh wow. Mm, maybe I, you know what? I actually took notes for
You
this.
notes? All right.
Yeah, I did. I took notes. I took SI notes, you know.
Okay.
I always used to say that taking notes just ended up like, I would find old notes in school when I was younger, like just crumbled up in my bag, like made into kind of like papier-mâché type of, you know, and I was like, I don't do notes, you know.
Yeah.
But nowadays I do. Yeah. Yeah, but ultimately, like my type's purpose in the tribe, this is pretty interesting. Like Greg Plitt, I was watching quite a few videos of him this week and also prior to that. And it's interesting to kind of see that like his what gets him going and like his values and what he's focused on is very, very similar to me. So he's my type twin, my exact type twin. And it just makes me realize that like I don't even control my own values, right? Like what do I value? I value consume, play, and blast, right? That's what I value. Like I do believe it's part of my value system that you should serve others and take care of others. And I don't think that I do it as autopilot as someone that's like savior TE, let's say, but ultimately like my values are shaped by my animal stack, which is a little bit scary to think, right? It's like I actually don't control that either. So for Greg Plitt, it's like he's always, even in a video that I posted on the group the other day, it's like he's like, I love being out here among people, like getting all the information from people. And I was like, oh God, I've said those things, you know? Like we're just the same person, perhaps a little bit of a different expression and a different like niche that we're working in, but we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
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 I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything.
I'm afraid to look at my type twins, actually.
Really?
I have not, like, specifically Phil DeFranco. I have not watched a single video of Phil DeFranco because I'm terrified.
Really?
I'm terrified. I don't want to look at it.
Well, I really like Phil DeFranco.
I'm sure people do, you know?
But it is cringy looking. I can't. Yeah. And there are some that's going to be more kind of relatable to you as a person. Obviously, there's still some like, you know, there's a spectrum within each 512 type as well. But for me, it's more comfortable looking at like Greg Plitt, who kind of speaks more of my language. I don't know, but like James Charles, Manny MUA, that's where I'm like, what's happening here? Like, am I this person? Perhaps I am.
I mean, what's the biggest thing, like, other than kind of what you said, where it's like your values are defined by your animal stack? Like, other than that, like, is there anything else when you see like your type twins, you're like, oh, that's uncomfortably like me?
Perhaps like okay, so it's actually a good example. I watched a video of Emma, how do you pronounce her last name? Chamberlain? Is that how you pronounce that surname?
Sure.
Emma and James Charles, and she's way more chaotic than he is. So I think she's like a lead SF consume, but she's energy dominant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's just pure chaos. Like in comparison, James Charles is like, he has trouble letting loose. Like he in comparison, like he's chaos, but he has some kind of controlling streak in him. And I was like, yeah, that I see that in myself. It's like for me to kind of forget about the controlling aspect that I have going on in the background. And I do think that EPs, when we get to the control part, we're like the most controlling, crazy people that you can possibly meet, especially if you have masculine OI. Seeing that in him, I was like, shit, I probably do that too. And people have pointed it out in the past. So that was uncomfortable.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. We're gonna actually start transition to the Q&A, but before we do that, is there anything else you want to kind of just say in your notes or about your type or yourself?
I'm looking. Not really. I think you asked a question in the whole like, what surprises you about people?
Yeah.
And I thought it was actually a good question. And I think when you have double activated play and like Savior SE, what you're always looking for is new, right? And you're looking for what you consider quirky, which like falls out of whatever, like all the things that you've seen in the past. Like you want something new. So in terms of people, I think I've overgathered people as well. Like I do like behavioral research in my job. So I've met so many different kinds of people that I rarely get surprised these days, and it's actually from a lead SE point of view, it's like almost disappointing.
Yeah.
It's like I'm getting to a point where I'm realizing there's of course more things that I can consume out there in the world, but that feeling of like brand new that I've felt when I was younger, it's not there anymore. And it's something that I'm processing at the moment, that like it's just part of growing up as the lead SF consume, that newness is not always going to be around, because at a certain point you're going to have gathered so much that everything just keeps repeating itself,
Yeah.
and NI is disappointing. So what else? Perhaps like on the like SF consume and what that is and what SF is.
Yeah.
Another thing that's like a little bit sad, I think, is that SF consume is so associated with like consumerism, and it's associated with materialism. And I do think that there are different ways that we can do that. And like, I want to kind of promote like nature. You can go out in nature and you can experience exactly the same thing that you would if you're I don't know, over consuming a certain niche. I don't know. And it's ultimately like, I think the original type of SF consume is very much tied to nature, and a lot of SF consumes that have NF sleep lasts like seem to struggle with like finding purpose and spirituality. And I think ultimately, if you go out in nature, you can kind of find that. So I do see like SF consume paired with NF sleep as some kind of like nature religion tie, if that makes sense. And you can achieve the exact same sensation just by doing something that's more sustainable. If that makes sense.
Well, there you go.
There you
I'm not going to argue with that. Okay. So we're going to go to the Q&A real quick.
Sure.
Okay. Ready?
Right.
First of all, did I move the new grandpa chair? Yes. That's your answer. Yeah.
I love the grandpa chair.
Next, being called pure would be kind of an insult. Yeah, Demon SF, Dave. Well, I'm learning. All right. Question. I recently heard a really mind-blowing and smart guess about why ESFPs are so popular. Care to opine? I think you kind of did that.
Didn't I? I think I did.
Yeah.
I think I wrote this to Emily.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so the spark notes would be, it's like you're matching people's what? Like their value? Like what are you matching exactly?
You just know what to say, right? If I like, I'll give an example, right?
Yeah.
I moderate interviews in my work a lot, right? And there's always like a clear NI destination for where the conversation needs to go, because I have like an agenda and a client that I need to take into consideration. But on the front end, like what is visible to the person can't be the control, right? Because if people at all sense that I am steering them, then they won't share. That's just how interviewing works, right? So SF is just being able to understand what the front end looks like. And then you have the NT on the back end saying, this is where we're going, it's like, we need to find this out. And you have like this plot in mind. But the SF is making that kind of digestible and appealing to the other person. So it's hard to say what it's doing, but in the moment, I can't know on the front end, but I can know in the moment how to appeal to a person, if that makes sense, I guess.
Is it just like a gut vibe, like, or is it more intellectual for you?
It's a gut vibe, and this is where F versus T is different, right? And also subconscious NI. Like my NI is so subconscious that the patterns are stored back there somewhere, And so I can kind of sometimes I'll just feel this sensation that I kind of know what to do in the moment, right? Like I'm not scared. And then I can use those subconscious patterns and just like push them out and like understand how they match to the other person, if that makes sense. So you just always log behavior. You log what people look like. You log different expressions. You log different types of SE, and you're like, this is what this person is experiencing in this moment.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. All right. Next question. How hard is it to regain one's tainted IP reputation with masculine FI and masculine NI? This is kind of, I don't know. Yeah, go for it, Catherine.
How hard is it to regain one's tainted IP reputation? I don't know. I'm not an IP.
Yeah.
I'm not an IP. I think, do I care about my reputation? I don't know, guys. I don't think I do.
Yep, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I see. Rules are there are no rules.
Yeah, no reputation doesn't exist. I don't know who Hogan is, but you talk SI comfort seeking versus SE gathering of experiences. I'm okay. Okay.
SI comfort.
Do you follow this?
Gathering.
I'm trying to follow.
Not really. I'm trying to follow this. You talk SI comfort.
Basically, what I'm interpreting is she just wants to contrast what the difference between SI and SE it looks like.
Yeah. And I think from an SE point of view, SI seems more. It does seem more comfort seeking. It almost seems cozy,
Yeah.
And SE is whatever sensory is known is boring. It just, that's the value that it's assigned. It's like, I know you, I don't want you, so I've had a lot of, I think, SI users ask me what the appeal is, and it's thrilling, right? Like, not being a lead SE is like not knowing what will happen is your biggest high, right? It's I was doing this, I've given this as an example to Reggie many times, but I was working on a project in Saudi Arabia, and the initial reaction that a lot of people where I'm from is like, wow, what's going to happen? We don't know anything about it. And I was like, that's what's exciting. We don't know Saudi. We need to know Saudi, right? So it's like the more unknown something is, the more thrilling it is, right?
Yeah.
That's not what SI is doing.
So I guess my question is, how do you maintain long-term friendships then? Because eventually you're going to know the person.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. And for some reason, it doesn't apply to people because I have FI. So when people are in my FI, it's like, I'll die for you,
Yeah.
So with people, I do think that ST play is like gathering people. It's gathering a tribe in many ways. And I never do I get bored with people? Perhaps when I was younger, I did used to jump between friend groups quite a bit. And that is perhaps an expression of SE. Who knows? But there is a sense that I need a really big tribe, right? I need so many people around me to feel fulfilled and satisfied. The more the merrier, kind of. I always said that when I was younger. I'm like, yeah, of course you should come. The more the merrier. And everyone's like, how's this going to work in the FE? And I'm like, I don't care. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And whereas for me, and you're getting to know this about me relatively well, the SI, no, fuck all that. I want 3 things. Okay. I don't want it's weird because it's I'm OE, I'm double activated OE, but it's when it comes to the sensory, it's I don't come at me with your bullshit. I just want something that's been tried and true for 10 years.
Right.
And I just want that. I don't want anything else because it's get that away from me. It feels gross. If I had a project like the Saudi Arabia thing, it would stress me out because I'm like I have no clue what to do about this. Like my NE would try and comfort me by saying, okay, here's what it's similar to. But even that is trying to get me back to the SI of this is still familiar ground for me.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Right. That's so interesting. Because yeah, that makes sense. Because I see that, like I see the chaos that I bring into SI users' lives, right? And I'm trying to hold that back a little bit because it's ultimately a little bit of a traumatic experience for some. But like the idea that we've almost explored all of the planet, that makes me depressed.
What?
You know? Yes, that makes me depressed. That everything is known. That makes me so sad.
But there's space. First of all, it doesn't even make sense.
Space scares me because of Demon and I for some reason. I'll work on that,
aliens?
figuring that out. Not aliens, just like I like greenery.
Oh, okay.
It's like there's still like a really deep tie to the planet and Earth and all that enough stuff going on in the background. But that's interesting. Wow.
You don't want to. Okay, so the fact that the world is almost SI categorized is bothering you.
It's bothering me.
That's a relief to me. It's like we just need it. Like it's almost NI like. I guess it's OI like if I have to. Because like just because we know it doesn't mean we've optimized it at all. Like it's
that's true.
Knowing it is only the first step. It's like now it's like, okay, what are we gonna do with these resources? Can we transform them into new resources or do new things with them? That's where it becomes interesting to me.
And that's where SI is building society and settlements, whereas SE is just like looking for the next thing. It's like I always like my favorite Disney character when I was a kid was Pocahontas. I know that the storyline is inaccurate, guys. I know that it's just, and that the story is very questionable, but she is quite clearly like close to my type. She should be last, right? And there's a song in it, Just Around the River Bend. That's SE. Like what's hidden just around the river bend? That's what's exciting. That's what you need to go and find, right? That's your instinctual pull. And what was I going to say? And I do think that finally, I'll say this, like, I think that for the past, however many, like the 20th century probably wasn't a great time to be an SE. And I'm saying that because like the world was being explored to its full extent, kind of. But now I find that kind of what I'm doing in my work is that I'm tracking everything that's being updated. So things are updating at such an exponential rate that you need someone with an SE brain to kind of handle that amount of new, right? So finally, I see a purpose for SE consume, Before it was a little bit of kind of like it never served me. It never served me when I was little. And I finally kind of see that it's serving me with how fast things are changing. So that's a positive. So there are different types of SE to consume. The most thrilling type of SE is new land, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. Next question. Oh my goodness, Anna. You guys are both observers on TeFI axis. I'm forever understanding TeFI. Tell me how you see your decider axis and the other decider axis. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So she wants us to talk about TeFI and then talk about how we see FE TI. I think we talked about this earlier today.
Kind of, yeah. TeFI. What are we doing? We are idealists at heart, all of us. And we are taking those, whatever, purpose that we're distilling, in my case, and I guess in your case, you're distilling some kind of culture.
Okay.
And I think it's fair to say that like all TE is in one way or another fueled by FI, right? It's like it's fueled by some heat there in the background, whether you're a savior TE or not. It's
well, I mean, it should be is maybe what I would say.
Should, yeah, should be.
Because
That's
otherwise
true.
it's lifeless. It's like a rat race energy. It's horrible.
Hmm.
It's
Right.
not fun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, how do you see our decider axis? I I do see TEFI, like the way that we need to talk things out. We need to make sense of things together with others. It makes for very much like a tribal kind of function, right? You are always in need of others to figure things out. And you can arrive at some kind of TI, right? But you need other people. You are incredibly dependent on other people if you have TE activated in a savior state
Yeah.
to move, not to move forward, but to make sense of things. Whereas FETI users seem more independent from that, from our point of view, I would say. Just the fact that TI figuring things out for themselves, not wanting help,
Yeah.
is like that's fascinating to me to watch. And I guess FE with feelings not being personal, it can seem fake, you know. Obviously, it isn't. It's a tool for communication, but from if I'm giving like my unfiltered FI point of view that I've had in the past, is like FE is, it looks as if it's out to get me. You know, it looks as if it's out to make me feel bad and like control me with vagueness, you know, and that's not something savior sensors do. Um, so yeah, that's what it looks like from SEEP point of view.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I guess all I'll add to that is like, yeah, I definitely agree with like TE being fooled by FI to the point where it's like TE will just justify its FI is basically how I see it.
Right.
Right? It's like lawyer talk
Yeah.
is how I see TE. TE is like
Yes.
I'm just going to say the thing that makes sense, that's plausible, but like I'm just doing
Right.
this so that you pay me. Like it's not, I don't care about the logic. I'm cornering you is basically what I'm trying to do with my TE. And
Right.
then the TEF or the FETI axis. I mean, I still view it as very calculating, honestly. Like it feels very
Calculating.
cold. Like I'm like,
Yes.
what are you guys doing behind the scenes over there? Like this is kind of weird.
Right.
It feels weird. And we were
Yeah.
actually also talking about, we were actually also talking about the Facebook posts of like it all being FE, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
all these FE responses, it's like this is too much. Like, get away from me,
All right.
type of energy.
Yeah, because emotional expressions are ultimately private, right? And even me as a savior feeler, like I'm obligated to sanitize my F before it reaches other people, right?
Yeah.
I'm obligated to dress it in one way or another. Not when I was little, I don't think, but as I'm getting older, I'm obligated to make it seem pragmatic somehow.
Yeah.
Um, whereas FE is like, it's not scared to use emotions and feelings as a way of either getting what it wants, um, or um, yeah, ultimately it can seem cunning because we are not allowed to use feelings to sway other people.
Yeah.
We just aren't. We're not, like, even me, if I do that, that's bad. That's bad. It's bad. um yeah.
Yeah. A few more questions here. Let me just scroll through here. Okay, so this is from Ryan. Is the different responsibilities wait, this is a very confusing question. Is the difference responsibility on the savior versus demon? This feels like I should have been there. I don't know. I guess he's
It's a different
responding to a quote we said or something.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm skipping this. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Next.
Ryan.
How do you both experience your double masculine sleep last, and how are you working on it?
Good
You go
question.
first. I have answers, but you go first.
Um well, I've, like, in the past, I've experienced sleep crashes.
Mm-hmm.
So I've known about sleep for a while, I just thought it meant that I was a weak person, that I was
Mhm.
lazy, that I was selfish, that I was that I was weak, ultimately all those things. It was associated as being something that was negative. And I think I even said this when I spoke to Rose, that like NF sleep, when I saw it, creating a narrative for yourself, your past, your future, etc., it seemed like a lie, right? That's how I would look at it in the past, and
Yeah.
changing that perception and changing my own judgment of what NF sleep is, and it being a sign of being weak, and also in that changing the perception that double feminine NF sleep, so the inverted type of NF sleep, is weak, is something that I've had to work really hard on, because my whole life, like even though I'm a savior feeler, is about suppressing negative emotions.
Yeah.
Right. So you throw things in the back and you deal with them later. That's like what my brain is doing. It makes for me, like I can be very resilient in the moment, but I'm going to have to pay for that on the back end. Right.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, I've just had to change my own judgment and how I judge others for doing NF sleep processing or doing NF in general,
Yeah.
and just kind of pivoting it from being something negative to being something that's ultimately really admirable.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I'm currently working on it, and then identifying the experience of when I'm doing it. Like if I'm emotionally backed up, what will generally happen is I'll enter this phase of feeling sorry for myself. And feeling sorry for myself was never allowed, right? That's also part of NF sleep processing. It's feeling sorry for yourself. And I was like, feeling sorry for yourself is just not productive. It's not something that we do,
Yeah.
So I've had to accept that feeling sorry for yourself and like being gentle first to process the past and like traumatic events or things that you've had an emotional reaction to is accepted. So doing the double feminine NF as well as then doing the double masculine NF of like, where are we heading? Like, what are your dreams? Dreams are not bad. Dreams are not unrealistic. Dreams are not childish, and that whole thing.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Mm.
Mine's not nearly as beautiful. It's just not. But let me acknowledge that yours, yeah, I guess I might want to, take a little sip before I talk about this.
Sleep, it's not what we do.
Yeah. God. So basically with me, I don't know if I want to attribute this to it being double masculine or if it's being or me being double activated play. I'm very much an all or nothing person. If I'm doing something, I'm fucking doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
Right. Yeah.
there's something that happened, or maybe a series of events that culminated in this moment where I was just really exhausted, frustrated. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was tired. I was failing at work and stuff like this, and my YouTube channel is okay, but it's like, I was like, okay, I'm comparing myself to all these other people. And so I was like, and I felt this savior double active play, like I have to message this person, that person, this person. And then something crossed my mind of someone asked me a question. I think it was someone in the Facebook groups. They asked me like, "Oh, so you're doing the sleep last thing? Like why can't you just relax?" I was like, "Well, no, I'm not. That's not possible." But then I guess the way they worded the question made me think, "Oh, wait, maybe there is another way to do this."
Mm-hmm.
And so what came to my mind was actually Tim Ferriss, right? So he was the guy who wrote 4 Hour Work Week, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, he clearly isn't burning himself out to be productive, and he's clearly very successful. And so I looked up his type in the new catalog that I think Jana and Ryan made, and I was like, he's play last, and I never knew that. And I was like, oh fuck, okay, so that like broke my brain because I was like, okay, I'm going about this assuming that my way is the only possible way that this can work.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not. So it's like, so that was kind of the catalyst. And so what I've been doing is I have been like, if this makes sense, I've been sleep lasting my mastery of sleep. And so what I mean by
Right.
that is I have a counter. I'm like, okay, once I put 10,000 hours into sleep processing, like practicing sleep processing or learning from sleep processing, then I can move on to the next thing. Right. So I have a counter on my projects. And so every time I do anything sleep process related, I'll add to that counter. I consume content from playlists specifically because I feel like that's the most efficient way to learn what sleep is. Like there's no point learning from sleep from someone who's not playlist. It doesn't make sense. Right. It's like I might as well learn from someone who's double activated so I can see it. Right. So I've been watching Tim Ferriss, David Allen,
Nice.
I think to a lesser extent, I watched Jay-Z a little bit, and then I've been watching Christopher Nolan stuff recently because I'm suspicious he's play last, right? So it's like I'm immersing myself in their creative process, their business processes, their social processes, right? And like I'm just like, I'm basically, brainwashing myself. And then I'm doing GTD now, like so, I have my docs and I'm trying to organize that.
Nice.
And then from the SF standpoint, the SF side of sleep processing, I have like my Tumblr that I update every day. And then I'm working on my YouTube channel to kind of clean up the visual aesthetics, as you know, and then, just really try and make it something that's come out of my vision, right? Like what I like.
Your vision, your SF vision,
So that's the basic gist of it. It's
cool.
not fun because especially since it's double masculine, it's very much like if you've watched The Dark Knight Rises, it's like I got thrown into the pit. Is how it feels.
Right.
It's like all social interaction is like it's like I'm not strong enough to do social interaction anymore. In a way. It's like I can't deal with all this. So it's like I'm just doing that. So anyway, that was very long-winded, but
no, that's really cool. That's super cool. Yeah. Do you feel like you burnt out on play?
I feel like I hate people now. I really do. So maybe that's a yes. I'm just so tired. It's
right.
It's like I was doing like, especially when I was like really, really into Gary Vee specifically. I was like doing all of the stuff he was recommending. And I was like, why am I talking to these people?
Yeah.
And it's like you never feel like you're caught up. I'm like, I hate that.
Yes. Feeling. Yeah. That's I think being sleep last is just, again, I'm saying this in the interview that I'm doing with Rose as well, but it's like you have all this energy, right? You can do so much, right? Like you have energy to last for days. It's just that you don't know where to put it. And that's claustrophobic, right? It's like not knowing what bucket to put all that energy into. If you had the bucket, if you knew what it was, then you'd do great. But then you don't know yourself well enough to actually have somewhere to put all that energy. And that sucks. Like, it really does suck. Like, when I described earlier in this interview, like attaching myself to other people's vision, when I'm attached to someone's vision, I am consume play blasting all day, right? And I can do that into infinity. But usually what happens is that I attach myself to someone's vision, and then 3-4 years down the line, I'm like, this is not my reality. This is not my direction. What the fuck happened? How did I end up here? So even seeing Shan like explain in one of the videos that she was like, yeah, I always knew what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do photography and art or something like that, right? And I was like, that to me looks like DI, because it's the part that I'm missing, but she has it, right? She can narrow down on like, I'm not saying that Shan isn't going to struggle with what will make me happy in the future, because quite clearly she will, but she has the NI of her life, right? She has like a general path forward. So to me, from an NI last point of view, I'm like, that looks like DI, but then not really.
Okay,
Yeah.
so really good.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, Kat. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You need to help me identify what's appropriate. I'm not doing these fucking interviews for a while. There's several other questions. I typically end in 5 minutes. So I'm asking you what you want to do. I don't want you to be stuck here doing questions for forever.
Oh, I can do questions. I have nothing else to do today. I might need to go to the bathroom. But we can I'm just saying the,
Okay.
necessity of it.
Let's go ahead. Let's knock out as many questions as possible.
Let's do
tap
it.
out. I will tap out at 2 hours. So in another half hour, but we can keep doing questions. Because I'm not I'm done for a little while. What's game night next Saturday?
Wow, that's masculine sensory.
Next Saturday. Next. Let's see. Oh no. Do values need reasons? No.
I think they should.
Oh, sorry. You want me to go back to that one?
No, it's fine. I think advice to all FI saviors out there is perhaps you can have values, right? But what are you going to do to communicate them, right?
Right.
Are you going to use proof? Are you going to use intuition? That's up to you, right? But it's values can be communicated, they can be packaged, and you can prove that a value is more beneficial. Like, look at, I think I've had this conversation with Jenna from the Facebook group. It's like values are not always pragmatic, right? But you can package them to make them make sense to people around you. That's just D, I guess, or blast. This idea that values are like irrational completely is maybe not true, because again, I said it before, but the conversation that I think that feelers are having is like, what values will benefit us as a tribe? What is right? What is wrong? What is ultimately going to serve us? So it's a different coin in the what will make it work,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. What should I be doing with my life, Ikram? Or see, I'm calling you Ikram. You're the same person to me. Sometimes I mix it up.
Yeah, we're glued together,
Yeah.
I tried not to reference Ikram in this interview,
Yeah.
because it's always like, it's me and Ikram, and it's like, oh god, we're like attached.
Yeah. What should I be doing with my life?
Oh shit, I'm trying to help you. I need so much data to understand, though. And this is where I'd need to, maybe we should do that, Reggie. I should like interview you. I'll come in and I'll ask a bunch of questions. I'll like go through your entire life and try to find the right fit for you.
Oh, there you go.
Let's do it.
Helping me with that.
Yeah, we are helping you with that.
Okay.
Me and Ikram. But yeah, let's do it. I don't have anything right now. Simeon. Is that your name?
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, is codependency a sleep last thing? Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Next. Question. We have same animals and same human needs, but what? Who are we even? How? What? How do you see us different versus the same? So this is for you, Kat.
Oh, is it for me?
Yes, you guys have the same animal order. Yeah.
Maybe I start and then you go, because you've interviewed Emily, right? So you know us both.
Sure.
Who are we even?
I don't know how to answer that. What does that mean?
I don't know how to answer that, Emily. Yeah. This is too much NE for me,
Yeah,
no, but I do think I see a similarity, like, in that, like, I guess in Emily, I do see like a strong pull towards the FE, perhaps even stronger for her because it's masculine, right? So there's we both have like, sorry, someone's drilling. But there's a pull towards like a double activated function, perhaps. So it makes us like quite, I don't think that it's as easy for a single activated DI second to kind of go against the tribe. And especially not for someone that has like consume play blast versus sleep blast play. Because at least they have themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas we're always going to be a little bit needy, I guess. I'm not calling you needy, but you know, I'm calling myself that.
I'm pretty needy. It's okay. I told you can be blunt.
We're all needy. We're all needy, you know.
Okay, but I see you being appropriate, so I appreciate that.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
yes. So, briefly, how do I see you two different versus the same? Different. Emily was way more chaotic.
Yeah, it's
She was.
really.
She was. It's yeah. Her interview was way more chaotic in my experience. I don't know what to attribute to that. Maybe it's just any, you know, I don't know. But it was way more chaotic. And then I honestly was more scared because she like hit, like there's certain masculine FE punches. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't know how to respond to that. You know?
Yeah.
If you guys rewatch it, yeah. Like I was going back through to get a clip, you know, I think it did it last week or 2 weeks ago. And I was like, oh my goodness, I was like I was flinching. Like you could see me flinch in several of the clips, you know.
Masculine FE is like, for masculine FI, it's intense, right? It's really intense.
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, it's just like, it's just poking fun, you know?
Where you guys are similar, I mean, one similarity I'm just not going to mention because I'm learning to be appropriate. Okay. But other than that, I would say, I mean, I guess you guys are chill. I mean, it's like you're not, you know, it's like you're like, I guess the one similarity is like it's like you talk and then you figure out what you want to say as you're talking.
Yeah.
You know, is what I've seen.
It's right. Yeah. The blast and the sleep is subconscious, to say the least. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Really good. So next, Ryan, do you get along better? Is this for me? Do you get along better or communicate better with FITE or TEFE? And what about SCNI and NESI? Oh, this is a good question.
That's a good question.
I communicate better. I guess define better. I think the people who I have the best relationships with have an opposite axis to me either way. Like either it's one of the axes are different. Is the best relationships I have. You know, if I'm in the same quadra in a weird way, it's like I understand it's the fastest, but it's like in a weird way, it's like I don't want to talk to you. In a weird way.
Right.
Like I know what's going on. Like so, you know, that's the OE. It's like I know exactly what's happening. So it's like it's not, you know, I could have asked myself that, you know, and it's like I don't want to do sleep processing. So it's like, why am I talking to you about this? You know? So let me go talk to someone else.
That's so true. There's a for some reason, like the people of my quadra that I get along the best with is probably like ST play leads, like Ikram, but also ENTJs. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of my box that I hang out with. That team that tends to be the best mesh. But then in general, like you say, like if one axis is different, that's usually more interesting. And it's probably part of being an OE savior, right? It's like you don't want things that are too similar because it's like, I know what you're doing, you know? Yeah, I know that. It's not interesting.
Exactly. So, okay, so specifically with FITE versus TEFE, I like both.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think with FI, it's kind of I get it. Whereas with FE, it's like this is gonna sound weird. It's like when we finally are able to understand each other, it's a really nice feeling.
Yeah.
No, that's a trade-off. Right. It's a trade-off.
Yeah. It's a trade-off. Yeah, it is a trade-off. I think maturity is required from both ends, kind of, in order to make like FIT plus TIFE work.
Yeah.
Ultimately, and like you need to be able to kind of control your FI, right? And you and the TI needs to be able to control their TI.
Yeah, exactly. SENI versus NESI. I think I actually prefer talking to people with SENI unless we're getting work done. Because once we're getting work done, it's like you're not giving me the SI. I need the SI to get work done. So it's very like it's almost like a weird TE thing for me. It's like with TE, I need SI specifically.
Right.
Not any can go somewhere. It's the SI that I need when I'm working. But like when I'm just casually talking, like I think honestly, I mean that explains like all of the people that I'm friends with on the Facebook groups, like close friends with, to me at least, are SE or NI, one of the two. It's just, you know, I don't have any close friends that are NE or SI. I just like except for Rose. That's the one exception.
Yeah.
Like everyone else is like, you know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't. I haven't OI'd my preference yet. I think I like most people, but for different reasons, right? It's like you have different relationships with different people, and they serve different purposes. Perhaps.
Yeah. There you go. You're being politically correct. Okay, good job doing the SF.
Just doing my thing.
Just doing your savers.
Just doing my savers.
Let's see. Question. I don't know. Is this for us? Sometimes I can't tell if these questions are for us or not. You know? Do you feel like people are tripping and thus controlling you when they share their deep emotions about you? This is actually a relevant question. Because of the fucking Facebook post. Talk to us, Catherine. Did you feel like people were controlling you when they shared their deep thirst?
It's just so this is where again I'm gonna try to TE this. It's so fucking uncomfortable.
I hate it. Yeah.
And this is where FI versus FE is very different, right? Like I understand the difference and I'm not going to take offense, right? That's not what's happening. But it just, I don't know how to handle it. Like, and again, I'll overshare with the internet. Why not? Probably everyone already knows this because I've probably shared it before. But like even with flirting, right? Flirting is NF, right? And like
really.
Yeah,
it's not
because it's like it can be. I guess it can be SF, and SF flirting I'm more okay with. But like when it comes to NF flirting, I'm like, what's happening? Like, can you just spell it out for me? Like, I don't do this. You know, it just gets to the demons. You know, because I'm. That's the irony. I think a lot of like savior. Like SF consumes are perceived as very flirty because of all the things that I mentioned before, right? But it's just an instant response. As soon as something is plotted, and this ties into like, I guess, savior SEs being like very like this when it comes to like pickup artistry and all that stuff. It's like as soon as something is planned, we're like, what's happening? Like, excuse me. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you out to get me? You know, that's the immediate like instinctive response, at least from my brain. So in anything that involves like expression of feelings or in one way or another, it's still going to be uncomfortable for me because that's not what FI does. Right? FI is private. You know, I'm still a feeler, but I don't, I've had to like work on giving FE style compliments, like, oh, that you look so nice or whatever. Like I didn't allow myself to ever say that before. Because I was like, that's, you know, like that went against my own values. So when I hear people express like SF compliments, I'm like, the old me would have been like, no, we're not allowed to talk about these things, you know, like you're not supposed to, being like policing it, right? Which is like the SF doesn't matter. Like here you are, you're being superficial, you know, look at all you people, go be ashamed of yourselves. But now I'm like, nothing matters anyway. Like it just, things happen. you know.
First of all, hold on. I gotta channel change. Ikram is dragging the fuck out of me in the comments. Okay. He's like, Ikram, you can't just be saying this. Like, first of all, he's like, everyone will be safe with thirst. That's very factual. That's very factual. After that Facebook group, so let me take a channel change. I was seriously traumatized by that Facebook post because I was not expecting that.
Ikram and I, we had to go in and save Reggie. We had to comfort him, guys. You know, think about yourselves. Think about what you're doing.
Yeah,
Poor Reggie over here.
I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's a nice picture. I'm glad, you know, she's a nice person. Okay. But like, everyone was just out here thirsting. And it threw me off. Okay. And then this is the actual drag, Cat. You ready? The actual drag is Reggie just thirsts in private. Let's not talk about that. Okay, Cat, Ikram. You can't be saying that.
Funny.
Okay.
This is SE.
My
you
own.
know, this is so interesting. Like, what is private? You know?
Yeah.
Like, for Ikram, the facts aren't private, and the SE isn't private. So she's like, oh, why can't she be saying that? Nick is wondering as well because he's also Savory ST Play.
Yeah. Oh my god. I mean, so to address this is me being TE, but like to address this is like me thirsting in private, like it's like I'm not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even gonna confirm or deny that. That's the level. I feel like so SF specifically, like demon, like SF inner world, it feels like, have you watched The Crown?
No.
God damn it. Okay. It's like English monarchy. Right? Like everything has its very specific rules, and it's like you say one word, and it's like it's very subtle. It's like I'll say one word, like when I'm on my RegiCast, it's like I'm doing that for a show. When I'm actually attracted to someone, I'm never gonna fucking tell you. I'm never ever telling you.
This is FI. FI just does this. It's like, I like you, I'm just gonna leave. You know, it's so stupid. Whereas FEs are like, hi, how are you doing? I'm like, how are you doing that? You know?
Yeah.
That's why like SF consume is not, it's not, I don't know what we're doing, you know? It's still like one side is introverted. Like SEFE, SF play is max flirty, you know? Yeah. It's like, oh. Like, I just feel like I need to retract into my shell. Reggie just started.
It's crazy. Like, it's funny because it's funny because I see people trying to like drag me in the comments. But, like the people that I'm actually attracted to, you don't know. It's like that's what's funny. This is like I know, like that's where it's like so FI. It's like I keep that shit to myself. Like that people who are like top tier, it's like you're not gonna know that shit. And so, but anyway.
Yes, this is so funny. Yeah. It's I never understood that in myself when I was younger. But whenever I had a crush on someone, I was like, okay, I just need to go run and hide, you know?
Yeah, no one needs to know that. No one needs to know that. And then here's Ikram again saying, I have a stick my bum. Ikram, I thought we were friends. Okay.
Okay. She's having so much fun.
Let me find another question.
Good for you, girl.
So let me see here. So are there even any other questions? I don't think so. That might be it.
Oh, okay.
Give me a second. Oh, what are your favorite ice cream flavors?
Fred, this is such an NF question, Fred. Wow.
NF?
No, I'm just kidding. Ice cream flavors. You know, as I'm getting older, pistachio. Who would have guessed? I know.
Pistachio?
I know. But otherwise, you know, timeless classic, lemon sorbet.
Okay. I'm a very boring person. I think you described me as an old man. I'm very vanilla. That's my favorite flavor. I really wish I were chocolate, but I'm vanilla. I like vanilla.
Is this a pattern that NTs like vanilla?
I love vanilla.
I feel like, guys, answer in the comments. Do NTs like vanilla?
Oh my God. Yeah, find out for me. I'm an old man, guys. I'm born in the wrong timeline, you know?
Yeah, you are. You have. I feel like maybe you should have been born in the 18th century. You know, like
Yeah,
France.
slavery
Yeah.
didn't exist. Yeah, that would have been nice.
No, I don't like vanilla. Emily's like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, of course Emily's gonna disagree.
Yeah,
Um,
a good vanilla ice cream is good. Just
all
gonna
right,
say.
this looks like this may be the last question. So the
I don't
last
know what
question
the hell.
is, how do you know if FIs like you if they can't tell you? We do things for you. It's TE. It's secret. It's like I'll do
Yeah.
like little nice things for you, but I will never mention it.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a strange thing. And then when you finally get to a point where you're comfortable with a person, then you overwhelm them with the feels, right? And then they're like,
Yeah.
what the hell's
It's like, what
happening?
the fuck is going
You're,
on? Yeah.
yeah, what the fuck is going on? What's all this intense feeling about? It's like, it's super awkward. Like even for me, like Savior FI, especially if I have like a deep sleep crush on someone, then it's like I don't know. NF sleep is like you imprint on someone. It's like
Yeah.
you and me forever, and that's too intense to be shared with the outside world.
Did I skip a Jana question? I'm sorry, Jana. Okay, I forgot.
Yeah, Jana.
Here's the last
Hi,
question.
Jana.
Will you talk about this downside of being a double decider because you have a hard time cutting people out of your life?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? I cut a lot of people out of my life.
Do you? What the hell? I never.
Do.
Are you peacocking single deciding, or is this true?
No, what the fuck? Like, this sounds really bad. I don't want to be a single decider in my life. Like, I would never want that. Like,
Yeah.
no, but like, I cut, like, it's like, how do I word this? It's not a downside. It's a threshold issue. My threshold for cutting people off is farther than a single deciders. But once I cut you off, I cut you off. That's it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Right. That's it. Okay. Wow. So you do that. I can't cut people off. No, I don't have it in me. I can't not double decide for people.
No, but like there's a point of no return though, Catherine. I feel like even for you that's true. There's no way.
Sure.
Like, I'll give you the most extreme example, right? Like, if someone, like, let's say they were your friend and like they treated Ikram poorly, like they have to die.
Oh, I'd cut them.
That's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying?
They'd have to die. Yeah.
They'd have to die. So that's what I'm saying. There's a threshold. It's just farther.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just farther than the normal. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because it is it's further than the normal standard, right? But I find that it's especially intense. Like if someone treats someone that's in my FI that I love poorly, I'm like, you're dead. I'm gonna come after you. I'm gonna hunt you down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shame you. I'm gonna use all the 8 functions to make you understand how poor of a person you are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ruin your life.
Yeah, I want you to, and that's with FI, like masculine FI, because I think we both have masculine FI.
Mm-hmm.
It's very vindictive because it's like,
yes.
we're not even gonna kill you. Like, we're not even gonna give you that luxury. It's like we're gonna torture you and then keep you alive if you mess with certain things.
Yes. But and we're gonna use everything we have to kind of make that happen. It's so intense.
Yeah. I mean, but
that's where double masculine worldness comes out.
That's the thing. But the trade-off is that, like, I think, maybe I'm speaking for you mistakenly, but at least for me, it's like, yeah, I cut people off, but it takes a while. Like, I'll double decide because I'm like, do I really want to push that nuclear button? No, I don't.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
because it's a lot of work.
Right?
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a
lot of work.
I'm gonna try and double decide. I'm gonna double decide, and like, maybe they were being nice, and maybe they had a bad day, and like I'll do that for like 6 months.
Yeah, and then, I've done it for decades.
Yeah, no, I can't keep going. I can't do that for decades. After a certain cutoff point where you go past the threshold, it's like, yeah, you need to be worried, because now the thing is with double deciding though is like we and you can speak for yourself, but like at least for me, I track when they fall back. So I'm like, okay, they backed off, you know. So like, okay, I'm gonna let them go, you know.
Right. I think it is very different being NE, because my problem with not cutting people off is also a demon and I problem, right? You can probably see people's patterns fairly easily, right? But I'm obligated to prove it. And that's where hell begins. Like
Yeah,
even in like past relationships, again, oversharing with the internet, like if I notice in the beginning, I was like, this is not a person that wants me or wants the best for me, right?
yeah,
If that is what my NI is telling me, I'm still obligated to prove it. So
yeah,
that's where that's where the journey begins, and you have to go through the entire freaking story to then be able to come to the person and say, I'm cutting you out because of this
yeah,
evidence and these reasons, right? So you have to go through the entire function stack to actually be able to like single decide on someone.
yeah,
Whereas so you just keep a lot of people in your life for way too long. Whereas yeah, savior intuitives seem to have a better understanding of where things are kind of leading to,
yeah.
whereas I need it to last through court is what I usually say. So that's, yes, I do feel like being a savior sensor is like you're going up to court and you need to prove everything, and everyone is going to scrutinize your evidence. That's what you believe, right?
Hmm.
So even like a thing as such as like breaking up in a relationship is like, I
Mm.
need to have the proof that
Right,
I am allowed to break
right,
up with this person. So
right.
I actually wrote an email to Shan about that. And I was like, SE and SE evidence almost acts as reasons in a way, right? Because it's like, you need it. You absolutely always need the the SE brain sees SE as this is my reason, this is my evidence, this is what I
Yeah,
can lean on.
yeah. Okay. I think we have once. Okay, so I know I said that was the last question, but I think there's one more question. I was reading it for a little bit, but it is a new question. So
Mhm.
Victoria, I like Victoria, by the way. She's a nice person.
Yeah,
She's
she's
really
cool.
nice. Yeah, she's
I'm
pretty
so
cool.
curious about your type, Victoria.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Like really curious.
Yeah. So the question is a two-parter. I thought it was the same question, so I was originally gonna skip it, but she was saying, I was wondering if we could talk a little bit more about what it's like having a double masculine in the world, which we did a little bit. But she's saying more specifically, having a more fixed inner world versus being more movable on the outside. And has there been a disconnect or a tension between those two?
Yeah. I think it adds to the fakeness that I talked about earlier. Having a double feminine play, especially, is being incredibly moldable, and
Mhm.
it being ST play is being very moldable in the moment. Um, whereas double masculine in the world just it's like fixed in one spot, right? And everything
Yeah,
else is just like everything else around it is just this movable, like fluffy kind of, is this really part of who I am kind
yeah,
of um like layer around you. And so I would say that there is a huge disconnect. Maybe it's not really related, but like also you can move double masculine functions. Like I've worked on moving my double masculine FI. I've had certain beliefs throughout my life, like self beliefs about myself that aren't serving me. And I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do to change them? Right? Like
yeah,
that's when I hit sleep. And it's really painful. So you can move it, but it just involves like a lot of um, a lot of pain. And when you're in the double feminine sleep kind of mode, you are automatically more masculine with a tribe for some reason. Then
yeah,
it kind of inverts, and then you're like pushing on people and going crazy. And everyone's like, "What's happening? You're so sweet, usually
yeah,
sweet and moldable." And then the inside is moving, so you're going crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Am I answering the question?
What about the tension, like the disconnect or the tension?
Um, Yeah, right. I find that it's there is a disconnect in the sense that the person that you're presenting yourself as on the outside is not actually the frequency that you are communicating on, right? So,
Okay.
so your frequency is not what you're emitting. And so when you end up meeting people that communicate on your frequency, there's a sense of release. Like it's like we can actually, like, I can actually just let my guard down, you know?
Yeah.
So that I know that like having a guard, that sounds like being masculine extroverted decider, but it's not. Like having a feminine outer layer is like always it is a defense mechanism in a way. And then when people come to you and they speak to you directly, like to your double masculine center, it's like, I don't need to move. I can't believe that I don't need to move. You know, I don't need to fake it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I guess for me, briefly with that, it's like the tension between being double. Like I used to really talk negatively about myself. Like I used to call myself like a little bitch, and maybe I still am. You know, I'll never decide that. You know, I'll
You and
never
I would do
decide
that. We do the same thing. Yeah, I'm always like, you little bitch. That's my inner voice. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, maybe that's still true, but you know, that's the tension, the disconnect of it's like I have these very double masculine dreams, if you will.
Yeah.
Of like it's very conquest oriented. It's like some of them I can't say just yet because they're crazy. They feel crazy for me to say.
Right.
Or like they're very like double masculine, like, okay, I want to operate on a global level, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it's like, you know, and then you see me, it's like, Reggie, what are you doing all day? You're this very movable person. You know, you're very this distracted, movable person. So it's like, okay, there's that tension.
Yeah.
It's conflicting.
It is conflicting, yeah.
Double masculine SF sleep. I'm still learning about it. I've been making, as I mentioned before, I'm making a concerted effort to kind of get in touch with it. It's very much like, so I feel like sleep, at least a good part of sleep is it's bringing a dream world to life, is what I've realized. And it doesn't even matter what the temperament is of the sleep. It's bringing a dream world to life, right? And so SF sleep is bringing an aesthetic or something appealing in the sensory that you don't see in the world to life. And so, which is hard because it's like, I mean, that's the biggest disconnect because it's like you're living in a world and you don't feel like you see what your SF wants. Like, so it's like you feel alienated from the world. And so
I call it a guest in reality.
Yeah. It's like it's like you're visiting from somewhere else. It's like, what am I doing here? If I want this and I'm not seeing this, then what's going on?
Right.
I think the answer is like you have to then take the responsibility of creating that dream world on Earth, basically.
Right.
That's basically what I'm coming to, and which is hard because my aesthetic isn't necessarily something that I think people will like coming from me in a weird way. I feel like people like it, but when it's coming from me, it's like, Reggie, you know, we know you as this. Why are you doing that? You know, it's like a weird juxtaposition. And so that's what I would say, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That is double masculine sleep. And if you wanna see what double masculine sleep looks like, just watch David Goggins, you know. That's it. That's like you beat yourself up. Reggie, I think I can't remember which interview you said it in, but you said it in the past, like, no one's ever gonna be as mean to me as I am to myself. You know, that's just masculine FI. It's like you I think it's masculine FI and masculine DI in general is just incredibly hard on self, right? It has extreme expectations on itself. And it's something that I kind of realized just a few weeks back, but this idea of like Blast being the coach, right? It plays the archetype of the coach, but if you invert that, what Consume is doing is the opposite. It's an introverted coach, right? And especially if you have masculine DI, so you're always scanning a spectrum, whether it's NE or SE, right? And then you're measuring yourself up to that, right? So it's like what are you going to do to get there? Like you see the destination in one way and you're always refining based on the spectrum that you've scanned.
Yeah.
So it's like coaching yourself in a way, whereas Blast is coaching others.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, really good. So that was all the questions. So before we kind of close out, did you have anything else? Any last thing you want to say? No?
I think we got it all. I liked it. It was a good time.
This was fun. Yeah.
We were both nervous, but I don't know why.
I was stressed out. Yeah. Oh my God. So guys, here's the announcement. I'm disappearing for a few months. That's it. Okay. So don't expect any other content from me. Do whatever you want to do. Okay. There's other YouTube channels. All right. Thankfully. I'm not the only one.
Thankfully.
And Catherine's here, so if you want to rewatch this and thirst over her, do what you will. Okay? All right? Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. All right, that's not my business. But so I will make an announcement. I will post once I'm ready to return. That'll probably be within the next 1 to 3 months. But that's it. Everything else is in the description. So Kat, would love to kind of touch base with you once we kind of end the broadcast. But for everyone else, thank you so much. It's been a very eventful 50 episodes. Okay. A lot of ups and downs, I learned a lot and I really appreciate you guys, going through the journey with me. So thank you. Thank you, Kat. And then I will see you all on the next one. All right. Take care.